The Three of Cups is abundance, and it's all about fertility and also the celebration of the joys of life. On the Rider-Waite deck, we can see three maidens rising cups up above them and entwining them around each other. These could be any number of triad goddesses. They could be, for example, the three fates, the muses, or even the Nornia, the weavers and spinners of fate itself, concerned with the growth and rebirth of the world tree Yggdrasil. The colours on these maidens' dresses, that being red, yellow and white, are the paths taken by the magician and the chariot cards, and therefore they represent Geberah, Tifereth and Kether. And yet here with the Three of Cups on the Tree of Life, we are centred in Binah. This is a profoundly feminine Sephiroth on the Tree of Life, and usually refers to understanding of something based on our intuition and also our empathy. Indeed, it is known as a palace of mirrors, and could also represent a point where the wisdom of the light of Shokmar, for instance, is multiplied in an infinite number of ways, and therefore Binah can also represent an understanding and a separating of one idea from another, understanding one thing in its entirety and not jumbling it up with something else. And this actually ties into the symbolism of this card. The empathic and intuitive nature of this can be shown with the fact that this card is Mercury in Cancer, and so this is showing that our emotions are going to be forming much of our outlook upon the world if this is our astrological sign, and so our judgments and our plans are going to be based upon the pull of our instincts and our intuitions, our gut feeling, or what we feel in our heart, rather than solid, material, so-called facts. Mercury in Cancer is also very maternal, and we can see this in that the symbol of Cancer of the astrological sign is placed at the bottom of the card in the sea, and this is the Sea of Binah, so it connects back to what we were just talking about there on the Tree of Life. Now this card has a very strong symbology of the story of Persephone, and we can see this with the fact that the actual cups are made out of pomegranates, of which are sacred to the goddess Persephone. And this whole story about the abduction and return of Persephone is an allegory for the changing of the seasons, and therefore it returns us to how we began this video, with the idea and understanding of things in their separate parts, because the seasons could not change if one season did not die away in order to give room for the other one to come. And so Persephone is in the underworld. She's eaten a pomegranate which links her to Hades, and even though she's going to be allowed to leave after Hermes is sent in to rescue her, she has to come back. And Demeter can't bring herself to allow the seasons to change if Persephone isn't with her. And so when Persephone goes away, the seasons change, and it shows us the great joy of the spring season when Persephone is said to be on the earth with Demeter, and the understanding of it changing back into winter when she is sent away. And indeed, she's on Earth for 8 months, and we can see upon the card that there are 8 lotuses, and so the first way of looking at these 8 lotuses is that they represent the number of months that Persephone is here on Earth, and therefore the abundance and the joy and the beauty of which flows from that. The 8 lotuses also have a more metaphysical meaning to them, as they represent Mercury, of which we see upon the card, and Mercury is of course Hermes, again from the Persephone tale, and so it could be that the word of Hermes here is actually causing this to flow, and it is flowing into the receptive and maternal waters at the bottom where Cancer is shown, and therefore it is the relaying of the blessings of life and the birth of the season through the relay of this world and the underworld. And so if Mercury here is Hermes, Hermes is sent into the underworld to bring Persephone back, and he brings her back of course on his chariot, of which could be shown as the astrological sign of Cancer, which returns us exactly to how the video began, with Mercury in Cancer being the sign of this card. The actual streams coming from the cups are numbered 7, so there's 7 streams. And the number 7 here brings us to the 7th Sephiroth, of which is Netzach. And Netzach is all about eternity and a world without end. And yet it is also the number associated with the goddess Venus. And so this shows the eternal separation and coming together of Persephone and Demeter. And it shows that there is a love of which unites them because of the Venus connection. And so it shows that their love is eternal, and that their coming together and their eventual separation will continue for the eternal life of the universe. One could also say that Persephone here is of course the cups themselves, because they are made from pomegranates, and Demeter is the sea, and so that the water flows in and out of each other there is their coming together, and therefore we have the card, of course, known as abundance. The background of the card shows very clear skies like we've seen before on the previous card, and the Sea of Binar, or the Sea of Demeter even at the bottom, is completely calm yet again. There's certainly no rough waves on there. This shows the glory of the summer, the glory of the abundance of life. The seasons have changed and the sun is high in the sky, and we're out there enjoying it, and that is in many ways what this card is actually saying, to drink in the intoxication of the spirit and understand that the seasons will change again, and so we have to enjoy them while they're here. We have to take the riches and beauties of life into our heart while we can. And perhaps some of these joys of which we find in the world can be even more beautiful because they are temporary. And in many ways this is what these stories lead us to understand, and again the understanding of things in their separate forms. That there is, for example, a profound wonder and beauty in the life of a flower, of which may bloom for a short time before dying away. The fragility and the temporary nature of it makes it more special to us. And so in a moment of carpe diem, we find our day overcome with abundance and the sun and the splendours of friendship and wonder all over, and we have to enjoy and cherish every single second of that. And it means even more to us because we know that those seconds will not come again. And indeed, Binar could be said to be ruled by Saturn. It corresponds to Saturn, and Saturn of course is death and that bringing away and that restriction and the notion of time. And so we really do see that echoed here in this card and mirrored in it. And yet the fact that we have shared these experiences with others builds and nurtures the seeds of experience in life, and that's in some ways what the pomegranates here can represent, as well as Persephone. They can be the things we've experienced in our emotions within these days of joy, and maybe it's those days that have brought us together in the first place. And this can be in some way what we can see here with the pomegranates upon the card, and the 3 cups themselves. You can see that one of them is higher than the others, and so this could show a true love and a true bonding and nurturing of close friendships and relationships in that matter, and could even be on a more metaphysical level our true will. And our true will is our emotional guidance system, so it's like a spiritual sat-nav that's leading us towards our true purpose, and our true purpose at its highest form is always going to be created out of Kether, pure light, essentially love itself. And so we're guided back to love, and we're guided back to our source and our true will in that elevated cup. Of course they flow down into that sea, which we've said is Binar, and it's also a feminine and receptive state, and so it's allowing these waters to flow down into it and to be overcome in the moment when these cups overflow. And indeed the cups truly do run over with this beautiful white water. They represent abundance in all of its different forms here, and it can be, if it's not going to be in personal relationships, it can be abundance of whatever it may be, of which causes your own heart to overflow with the energy of love. Crowley himself describes this card as the lesson to be learned here is that the good things of life, although to be enjoyed, should perhaps be distrusted. Now this is quite a strange statement to take at face value, and yet it returns us to the pomegranate symbology, Persephone's eating of the pomegranate binds her back to the lower world. And so it's suggesting that although we may love the things of the physical world, they can perish. And even entire continents and cultures and entire civilizations can perish. They are not permanent, even if they appear to be, and that is one of the lessons of this card. He also describes the card, however, as here is the fulfillment of the will of love in abounding joy. The idea of love has come to fruition. And so really when you draw this card, that's what it's all about. It's go out there and share that abundance, share your success and your love and all the joy that you've experienced with your relationships, which could be your friends, your colleagues, whoever it's going to be. Life is going to feel good in this moment with this card. You're not going to be short of anything, and so share it and allow it to flow. Don't try and hold it back. It's a card concerned with communication, allowing us to communicate all of those good things in life and to express ourselves, to allow that love to overflow and outpour into our own ocean of the heart, and yet also, of course, to understand its limitation. Do not get lost up in it, but to see it for what it is, even if it may be impermanent, to take it into our heart and into our mind, and to instill it with the waters of life and of love.